2020 presidential bid on Saturday, the former mayor of San Antonio, Julian Castro, became the latest candidate. Castro gained national attention when he delivered the keynote address at the 2012 Democratic Convention, and he was also Secretary of Housing and Urban Development during the Obama administration. The grandson of a Mexican immigrant, Julian Castro, has already been endorsed by a Democratic member of Congress, his twin brother, Joaquin. And Julian Castro joins us from the site of his announcement. The president visited your home state of Texas this week, went to the border, said there is a humanitarian and national security crisis. Do you agree with him that there is a crisis at the border?
What I believe is that he's created a tragedy at the border. This policy of separating children from their parents and the terrible way that Customs and Border Protection has managed its responsibilities, including the deaths of 2 children within the last few weeks. That's a real tragedy.
Well, that family separation policy has been paused at least, but there are a record number of family units crossing the border, and that creates a lot of challenges. So what would you do?
I don't believe that we should have family detention for people that are seeking asylum or refugee status. So that we should develop other ways to ensure that people are processed, that we're able to keep track of them in the country.
You were critical even under the Obama administration, specifically about their high level of deportations. So what do you offer as an alternative? If you're not going to detain and you're not going to deport, what do you do with illegal immigrants?
Well, what I believe we can do, and what the Obama administration did do, I believe toward the end of its tenure, was to look at things like ankle monitors so that you're able to monitor where people are in the country. But we also need to be serious about recognizing the right of people to seek asylum. And the president is playing games with this, blocking people's right to seek asylum. I would change that. I would make sure that we push as hard as possible for comprehensive immigration reform, so that for the people who are already here, if they've been law-abiding, if they pay a fine, that they can get an earned path to citizenship.
You announced your candidacy, and almost immediately the RNC issued a statement. I want to read it here to you. It's Castro has made history by becoming one of the biggest lightweights to ever run for president. He was a weak mayor who couldn't even handle being HUD secretary. This is obviously just another desperate attempt to become someone else's running mate. These are sharp words, but it's the first official attack on you. How do you respond, and how do you explain why you are qualified to be commander-in-chief?
You know, they're going to use those kinds of words for every single Democrat that decides to run for president. I wouldn't put too much stock in that. I would just say to the American people directly, I've had executive experience. I've led one of the largest, most diverse cities in the country. I've led a federal agency at HUD and done some great work to expand opportunity. I know what it takes to ensure that we have a government that functions well and to help inspire people. I also have a life experience that I think resonates with a lot of Americans. You know, I'm here in my neighborhood that I grew up in a single-parent household, went to the public schools here in San Antonio, was able to go to college and law school and to reach my American dream. And I am motivated to make sure that every American can reach their dreams.
Well, some of the things you outlined as part of your platform, Medicare for all, universal access to pre-kindergarten education, a Green New Deal, these put you in the more liberal or progressive wing of the Democratic Party. So one of the challenges for you is, how do you attract centrists or people who perhaps were alienated by the president but aren't comfortable with being so reliant on the government as their main provider?
What I hear out there is that there are a lot of folks, a lot of people who want us to invest in universal health care. And I'm under no illusion that accomplishing something like Medicare for all would be easy. But I do believe that in this nation, in the richest nation on earth, that not a single person should be without health care when they need it.
So what is that going to cost taxpayers? You got to make some real changes there to be able to pay for it.
No, you do. There's no question that it's going to take several things. I think it's going to take asking wealthier individuals to pay their fair share.
What does that mean?
We've had basically the last 40 years essentially of of lower and lower commitment on people at the very top. Same thing goes for corporations. You know, we have corporations, multinational corporations, that are hardly paying anything in federal taxes.
You want to increase the corporate tax
rate? We need to ask them to pay their fair share. I think that we can consider different ways, different proposals to be able to raise more revenue from the wealthiest corporations.
All right. We will be tracking you and your campaign. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.